I bet you didn't know how complicated the difference between a town and a city really is. Welcome to Trailvia, where we unravel the world's quirkiest questions. If you love learning new things, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. What is the difference between a town and a city? At first glance, it might seem obvious. Maybe you think a city is just a bigger, busier version of a town. But is it really that simple? The answer is more complicated than you might expect, and it's a question that has puzzled people for generations. It seems like a simple question, but the answer is surprisingly tricky. Even experts sometimes disagree, and the definitions can change depending on who you ask or where you are in the world. Sometimes a city seems bigger and busier than a town. Cities often have tall buildings, lots of people, and a fast pace of life, while towns might feel quieter and more relaxed. But is that always true? There are towns with more people than some cities, and cities that feel just as peaceful as any small town. The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The line between a town and a city can be blurry, and it often depends on history, local laws, and even tradition. Different countries have their own unique ways of deciding what makes a place a town or a city. In some places it's all about population size, while in others, it's about having a cathedral, a special government, or even just a royal charter. It's like a puzzle with different rules depending on where you are. Each country, and sometimes even each region, has its own set of guidelines and traditions. Let's travel to the United States to see how this puzzle plays out. The US has its own way of deciding what's a town and what's a city, and the rules can be just as surprising as anywhere else. We'll explore the rules of the game and meet some interesting places along the way. Get ready to discover how the town and city puzzle is solved in America, and why it might not be as straightforward as you think. In the United States, the story of how towns and cities are formed begins with something called an incorporated place. This is a special term that means a community has officially set up its own local government, giving it the power to make decisions for the people who live there. When a place is incorporated, it can elect its own leaders, pass local laws, and provide important services like police, fire departments, and schools. It's a way for people to have a say in how their community is run. In the US, cities, towns, and villages are all different types of incorporated places. The names might sound similar, but they can mean very different things depending on where you are. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The rules for what makes a place a city, town, or village aren't the same everywhere. Each state in America gets to decide its own rules about what qualifies as a city, town, or village. There's no single national standard, so the requirements can change a lot from one state to another. Some states use population size as the main factor. For example, a place might need a certain number of people living there before it can call itself a city. In one state, a community might need at least 10,000 residents to be officially recognized as a city, while in another state, the number could be much higher or lower. Other states use different rules, like how the local government is organized, what services it provides, or even how the area is laid out. Sometimes, the difference between a town and a city is all about the type of government they have, not just the size. All these different rules can be a little confusing, but they also help make America's towns and cities incredibly diverse and unique. No two places are exactly the same, and that's part of what makes exploring the country so interesting. Across the United States, the line between what makes a place a town or a city isn't always clear. Let's meet a couple of communities that are right in the middle of this debate, each with its own unique story and dreams for the future. First up is Hempstead, New York. Officially it's called a village, but don't let that title fool you. Here's the twist. Hempstead actually has more residents than many places that are labeled as cities. Its streets are always busy, filled with people from all walks of life. The community is vibrant and full of energy, with local events, businesses, and a strong sense of identity. Some residents believe that Hempstead deserves to be recognized as a city, not just for the name, but for the benefits that could come with it. They argue that city status could bring more government attention, increased funding, and better services for everyone who calls Hempstead home. It's a conversation that sparked plenty of debate among locals. Meanwhile, let's travel to Massachusetts, where the town of Framingham faced a similar crossroads not too long ago. For years, Framingham was known as a town, but in 2017 its residents made a historic decision. After much discussion and a community-wide vote, Framingham officially became a city. Many people were excited about this new chapter, hoping that city status would bring a more modern government, new opportunities, and a stronger voice in the region. but not everyone was convinced. Some worried that becoming a city might change Framingham's close-knit feel, making it harder to keep that small-town spirit alive. The debate continues, showing just how much identity and community matter to people, no matter what their home is called. Finally, let's visit Taos, New Mexico. Taos is a special place with a rich history and vibrant culture. It's also bigger than some cities, but Taos chooses to remain a town. The people of Taos value their town's unique identity and want to preserve its charm. So what's the answer to our town and city puzzle? As we've seen, there isn't one. Every place has its own story and its own reasons for being a town or a city. That's what makes exploring these places so fascinating. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Trailvia for more fascinating stories about places around the world.